Up, guys? James from Bolt Bros here. Want to talk about what everybody else is talking about? Jim Harbaugh, obviously, and how he could make the Bolts great again. And really want to focus a little bit on the last 10 years plus of coaches that we did interview for head coaching positions for the last 3 cycles here and talk a little bit about financials of an NFL franchise. So let's get into it, guys. Bolt Bros, let's go.
I'm Dale Henley. You watching the Boat Bros podcast? Let's do it!
All right, guys. Once again, appreciate all the support and love and everything. Hit the like button for this video. Subscribe to the channel. Once again, we always appreciate your support, and we love bringing you guys news and articles to be able to chat about more about our beloved Chargers. So once again, can Jim Harbaugh make the Bolts great again? Once again, you can check it out in our store. If you guys are interested in this hat, you can pick it up there. Awesome hat. We love it. And it's perfectly timed for what the next era of Chargers football will be with this team. So once again, the man of the hour, right? You got Jim Harbaugh here, and a lot of talk about him, guys. And once again, when he played on Monday night in that Rose Bowl, it showed a lot of guts. He showed a lot of fight as a coach. He showed that he's a leader of men. He showed that he could get this team in the right direction very quickly and be mentally tough as a team. That's a big thing that I feel that we do lack quite a bit on this team in the last 3 cycles, essentially, as head coaches. We need a leader. We got a guy that we did, pay quite a bit of money to, right? Justin Herbert, $262 million. Ain't nothing to blink at, guys. That's a boatload of money, guys. So what does the Chargers need to do now? They need to invest money in a leader. And this guy, my opinion, will be the man for this team. So I would love to be able to see Jim Harbaugh on this team. It's going to cost a pretty penny, right? We all kind of know what some of the reports are from Michigan. You're seeing about 12.5 million, 10-year base contracts, 125 million total contracts. You know what? I've talked about it before. NFL franchise could easily pay over that, right? The big hurdle of it is the Spanos have never paid anybody at a head coaching position at that level. So I could understand the hesitation there. But do they have money to do it? Let's just talk a little bit about that and give you an overall perspective of the NFL and how much money NFL franchises do have. So this is an interesting slide here. So this is from Sportico.com. This is basically a breakdown of profitability of teams in the NFL of what they make even before they snap the ball, essentially. So this is for the year of 2022 NFL year. Now, once again, we just are about to end the 2023 year. Basically, an NFL franchise makes any money. It makes more money than any English Premier League team, which you'd think soccer would make more money, right? Nope. NFL basically makes more money than pretty much any franchise in the English Premier League. Pretty insane all around. So this whole chart, this is just kind of just a partial of the chart that I'm showing to you on the screen here, where the Chargers essentially made $78 million. Now, they are the 4th lowest profitability-based team in the NFL, but higher than any of the English Premier League-based teams. Looking at even some of these teams here, Buffalo Bills spent a little bit of money on their coach. They pay them a pretty good chunk of money. Detroit Lions probably going to pay, Dan Campbell there a little bit more money, probably a lifetime based contract. Jaguars obviously got Doug Peterson there. They paid him a chunk of money. I think he's $8 million plus. Ron Rivera with the Commanders, they pay him a fair amount of money too. They even these lower based tier profitability based teams are paying coaches a fair chunk of change instead of the Chargers looking to pay these first-time head coach $4 million a season, give or take. Spend money to make money, right, guys? You got to do that at this point, and you have to be able to find a way to make that happen. In contrast, some of the highest grossing teams out there, Dallas Cowboys, number one, 460 million dollars profit from 2022. New England Patriots, 265 million. New York Giants, 215 million. Atlanta Falcons, which is a shocker to me, $207 million. Chicago Bears at 190 million. Just to name, those are the top 5 in the team or in the league. Crazy part of it is number 8 in the league is the Los Angeles Rams at $169 million. So think about that. The Rams won a Super Bowl, right? They got a coach that they're paying a lot of money, right? Wow. They made almost $100 million more than the Chargers did for the NFL season. That's obviously how that money is made, is through ticket sales. It is made through, merchandise. It is made through TV-based contracts. It's all these different things around here that basically provides more revenue to your team. I'm going to emphasize once again, you spend money to make money, right? So just to give you an idea of how the NFL cap was in 2022, the NFL cap was $208 million, with teams also required to kick in more than $40 million apiece for player benefits. But the check the teams receive from the league offices is more than covering that expense. So essentially, you're getting more money out of that $40 million. So you spend money to make money, right? National revenue from media and sponsorship partners was $12 billion last year. 64% of the league's revenue was $17.8 billion in total revenue, which means each team nearly received $375 million before selling a ticket, beer, or local sponsorship. Going into 2023, that season check is expected to approach $400 million. So before anything happens in the season, the team gets $400 million. They got money to spend, guys. Their money is basically getting from just TV revenue-based money to be able to cover their full expenses for their team's salary cap. There's profitability already right from the get-go, guys. So I did a little bit of math based upon this chart that I'm seeing on the screen right here, the $78 million. You got obviously 4 siblings in the Spanoses. Let's say they split that profitability between each other, give or take at that expense of 2022. It's like $15.5 million basically that they each get. Let's just say they do sign Jim Harbaugh. Well, okay, that cuts a little bit in the profitability, right? Well, let's say they only make $78 million. Well, okay, you'll make now, it's like 13.7 million, or I think it's $12.7 million that they'll make individually with signing Harbaugh. So this 2022 chart is based upon after expenses of everything, coaches, all that good stuff. They made $78 million. That's $78 million straight to their pockets, correct? Now they'll make $15.5 million after that for each year to, if they sign Jim Harbaugh at that same profitability mark, you'll be at $12.7 million. How many millions do you need, by the way, to survive? Hey, you don't need to buy that Bugatti after a while now. You're fine. $12.7 million is great. Now, once again, going back to the whole thing, you spend money to make money. You better believe, just based upon like looking at the Rams amount of money that they've made in 2022 at, $169 million. They won a Super Bowl recently, right? They got a lot of revenue from ads. They got a lot of people buying tickets. They got a lot of people buying season tickets. They got people buying, clothing. When I was in LA recently, you go to Costco and such, there's not one piece of Chargers, clothing there by any means. It's always Ram stuff. And you're starting to say like, hey, why can't the Chargers get into that? Because they don't have a product that's actually selling well enough. And when you get a guy like a Jim Harbaugh, it's a game changer at that point. It's a game changer for revenues, a game changer for fans, ultimate excitement. Yes, you owners will make a little bit less money, but I guarantee you will make tenfold money back with a guy like that. You will start seeing a big boom of need for Chargers tickets, season ticket holders, a lot more corporate type events, all these different things that are going to get involved. You're going to see a mass increase for the demand for Charger stuff with a guy like that. Even more so if he wins the national championship on Monday. So Chargers ownership, please, Spanos, make it happen. Spend money to make money. Next slide I'm going to go into here is All right, let's just talk about the last 10 years, essentially is Tom Telesco era of hiring coaches and who we did interview during those cycles and who we did not get, essentially. Obviously, we got Mike McCoy for his first hiring. Yeah, we know where that went, guys. Didn't go so well. Didn't go well in a lot of ways. Kind of ticked off some players. You know, the whole thing about Eric Weddle, that could have been landing more on Tom Telesco's shoulders more than Mike McCoy's. I've heard other stories about what really happened there, even with Mike McCoy, but pretty insane to be able to see kind of how it is. But I'm going to emphasize more or less on the results of Mike McCoy, but more on the who we did interview during that time. So basically, what we did in that same cycle after Norv Turner and Tom Telesco coming in, they interviewed Gus Bradley, defensive coordinator, Seattle at that time, Lovie Smith, who was fired, Ken Wisenhunt, and also Jay Gruden from the Bengals during that cycle. We also did interview Andy Reid at that same time. Now, when we did hire Mike McCoy, it was on January 15th. So it was a little bit after, I think, their playoff game with the Broncos. Obviously, he did some pretty good things over there to be able to get to the playoffs with, I believe it might have been even with Tim Tebow as their quarterback during that time. Amazing what he did with him. He was going to inherit basically Phillip Rivers, who, you know, has some good years. I think it's a good elevation to potentially for his game and such. But we didn't pull the trigger on Andy Reid, who got fired on Black Monday, basically. Crazy thing is, though, is Andy Reid, when he got, you know, hired, it was on January 4th, shortly after basically the season ended. One thing that he did state is that Reid quickly decided in this article that I'm reading on USA Today, Reid quickly decided that he did not want to engage in a bidding war with other teams that he talked with, being the Arizona Cardinals and the San Diego Chargers. So we did have some conversations with Andy Reid. We did put out a bid out there to be able to try to get him to be our head coach, but we didn't lock him down. And at that time, was it just more, did Andy Reid not want to be able to work with the Spanoses? Was it just not the right organization? He was going to inherit a quarterback with Phillip Rivers. When Andy Reid took over the Chiefs, it was Alex Smith at that time. You know, Alex Smith did come off of a 2-14 season with the Chiefs. Is that desirable or not? You know, he went with the Chiefs for a reason. He went with the Chiefs versus the Cardinals for a reason. He felt like there was a much better situation with the Chiefs. We got to find a way to make our organization sellable and people desiring to be at. And right now, we're really hanging our hat on the whole Justin Herbert situation. Just think of what we could have had with Andy Reid back then. The other head coaching candidates, you know, Gus Bradley, we kind of know where it went with him. Ironically, came back to us at some point as a defensive coordinator. You know, with Lovie Smith, we kind of know where he went. Ken Wisenhunt, obviously, that was another guy that came in as an offensive coordinator with us. And then Jay Gruden, you know, where that kind of went. Andy Reid could have been a changing head coach for this team. Albeit, once again, Andy Reid is very, very experienced, was in multiple Super Bowls and NFC Championship games with the Eagles previously. He could have been a changer for this team. But once again, was it we were just being cheap again? Or was the team not desirable to be at? Did he know there was going to be a shift to, you know, the San Diego Chargers to the LA Chargers? Who knows? But once again, we swung and missed at that point is what I'm trying to get at there. So moving on, after the McCoy era, obviously we went with Andy Reid, or excuse me, I would have loved it if we went with Andy Reid. We went with Anthony Lynn. So with Anthony Lynn, based upon some of the reviews that I was looking at, we basically had coaches that we did look at. You know, Vance Joseph was one of those guys that they wanted to interview with. He ended up becoming the Vance Joseph was one of the guys that they wanted to interview with. Mike Smith, Sean McDermott, Matt Patricia, Dave Tobe, Anthony Lynn, Terrell Austin were a couple of the guys that I did see during this cycle. Now, what basically happened is we obviously went with Anthony Lynn. We did interview Sean McDermott. We did also interview, hopefully to be able to get Sean McDermott, who was the defensive coordinator of Carolina Panthers at that time, he ended up getting a quick second interview with the Bills, which basically wrapped it up for him. So they were very, very much quick to be able to move on him to where it's almost to the same side that we just did not go that direction. We ended up getting somebody from the Bills who was kind of an interim head coach to basically get in Anthony Lynn. You know where that kind of went, guys. We had some good and some very bad times. Coaching was a little bit off all around. Matt Patricia did interview with two teams, with the Rams and the Chargers. The Rams also scheduled a second interview with the Washington offensive coordinator, Sean McVay. So once again, there was this opportunity to be able to go after these certain guys and certain players or certain coaches, and we just did not find a way to be able to get them there. Sean McVay could have been a phenomenal hire. What it could have been, guys, to be able to have Sean McVay in LA, start a new era with him, and you know where he's at right now. I mean, he's one of the better head coaches in the league. He's got the Rams on a rebuilding year to the playoffs this year. What it could have been, guys. I mean, I look in that cycle, Sean McDermott being one that we missed on, Sean McVay we missed on, and we didn't even get an interview that I even see too. So it's unbelievable to me how bad we've been swinging the miss with head coaches in the past 10 years. Now, moving on after, the Anthony Lynn era. So we got in, Brandon Staley. we know what happened there. So let's talk about who we interviewed before Brandon Staley. So we interviewed Jason Garrett. Definitely didn't do that. Good move. Brian Dable, big miss for us, in my opinion. I think that could have been a great setup for the Chargers, setup for Justin Herbert, just coming off of a rookie of the year candidate at that time, or rookie of the year, offensive rookie of the year, and winning that was a tremendous feat for him. At that same time, we had on that coaching staff, we had Shane Steichen. We also had Nick Sirianni. We know where they're at. They didn't even get a look or a sniff from what I even see anywhere. Big miss. Internal candidates sometimes works. The Chargers also did interview Arthur Smith. We know where he's at with the Falcons right now and the frustrations that they are having. Essentially, it was almost the same exact thing with Brandon Staley. Matt Eberfluss. I liked him as a defensive coordinator. As a head coach, it's taken a while, but hey, he's gotten the Bears to a very respectable time right now, and actually looks like he's saved his job in going into next year. We'll see if that does sit. Chargers had a second interview scheduled with Robert Saleh, the DC from the Niners, who is obviously now the head coach of the Jets. I would have loved to have him, and he would have been able to have a quarterback instantly on that team. He would have brought in Niners coaches for this team. He would have basically put this team, in my opinion, a great defensive team, which is what the Jets are right now, and also to be able to have a quarterback that could get the job done. Interesting, right? So we swung and missed on a lot of guys, and we ended up settling on kind of a first-year head coach guy that really didn't seem to really work out. Almost like it's like we're trying to get the bottom of the barrel guys, not the cream of the crop guys. During the same hiring process with Brandon Staley, Doug Peterson was available too. I thought, in my opinion, I was like, go get Doug Peterson. Go get Doug Peterson. And we didn't. We basically sat and just decided to say, hey, let's go cheap again. And we went with a guy, Brandon Staley, who I thought was going to be a very good coach. Thought he's going to be great. Once again, a young guy that just was a hot name that ended up having a phenomenal defense with the Rams. Ironically, Sean McVay over there. he talked him up, and here he is. And he's let go now. We had some good years and we had some bad years. We're having a very common thing with these coaches that we've had in the last 3 years, and we swung and missed on the guys that we should have hired. Are we just not fitting their financial needs, or is the ownership not the ownership that a lot of people like to work for? That's the thing that I'm trying to put together here, guys. You have to go out there at this point in time to find that guy. You need to go out there and spend that money to give this guy the opportunity to be able to get this team and to make the Bolts great again. And right now, our guy needs to be Jim Harbaugh. And what I'm emphasizing in this whole video is we swing and miss on the guys that we should hire and the guys that actually work out to be great leaders in this organization or in this NFL team. We need to get guys that aren't just some hotshot name that had one good year or 2 good years as an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or interim head coach or whatnot. We need to get a guy who knows how to create a team and create a leadership and have leadership and get these guys mentally strong as players. We need a guy that can really elevate this team, make this team very respectable. This next hiring has got to hit, guys, and Jim Harbaugh needs to be that guy. Bottom line, we know what he does on every single level that he's been as a coach. We need to be able to commit to him as a head coach and GM, potentially the guy who's doing a lot of the decision making throughout this team. He needs to be that guy because, once again, we have swung and missed on a lot of candidates out there. It seems like I could even probably go past the last 10 years. I could probably go a little bit deeper into even the Norv Turner era. Finally hit basically in the mid 2000s with Marty Schottenheimer, and he was an absolute stud as a coach for us. Just couldn't get the job done for us. But we missed on guys in the past, and we got to get this one right. Not just for us fans, but just as the organization in the NFL. I guarantee all the media hype and us hyping it up, all podcasts out there talking about it. The Chargers don't make it happen, guys. It's going to be, once again, the Chargers charger again, and the Chargers just try to find a way to be cheap again. You can't do this right now, guys. Once again, ownership, you invested $262 million. You have the revenue. I've shown the revenue in 2022. If it's accurate, it's very similar to what I'm seeing based upon the revenues that I've seen out there. You have the money to spend. Give up a couple of your $1 million just to be able to get a guy that could be that guy to make you more money, bottom line. You can't miss this time, guys. There's a lot of reports of the Chargers already had multiple conversations and contract talks right now. Get it right, Chargers. I fully expect you to hire Jim Harbaugh next week after he wins the national championship, because I think he will win this national championship on Monday, and get him in to solidify this hiring immediately. The contract already should be on the table at this point. If reports 3 months ago you've been chatting with him, at this point, it's more about money at this point. Put the contract in front of him, sign the contract, make it happen. So once again, guys, want to hear your comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on this video, and always appreciate the support. Love, guys. Once again, James from Bolt Bros. Let's